because I've put PM instead of AM. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Fridays with Sue and Steph. We missed you last week.
Yeah.
But we're glad to be back with you this
hopefully
week.
You missed us.
What?
I said, hopefully they missed us.
Yeah, we hope so. So our conversation this week is about, Stephanie's still trying, this platform has it mirrored and it's impossible to fix your hair. Really impossible, actually. But
and your brain fights with it. So like I go to
I told you, I literally have to close my eyes because I can't.
Oh,
yeah,
that's good. Okay,
yeah, it does work because we know what we do when we fix our hair.
Yeah,
anyway,
okay.
on to much more important stuff. We're going to talk about the idea of
expectations.
Yeah, we're going to talk about expectations and like how the world kind of encourages us to set expectations. Like it's often talked about how like if you have a goal and you set it, like you have the intention of the expectation that you're much more likely to reach it, which we know is true. But then there's so many other times that like setting expectations can like really set up more opportunity for disappointment. So what should we start with? Let's start with, I mean, as it turns out, my expectations and my disappointments from expectations kind of are flipped of the same story. And yours were too, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So you want to start with yours?
Okay. I'll start with one low one. Okay. So having low expectation. Now this took years because I actually could have put it in the high expectations category years ago. Going into family vacation when the kids were little.
We should have shared our list. We did not.
You know what? We just should have known, right?
Yeah.
We should have known. So I went into vacations thinking it was going to be, and the kids were so little, like, oh my God, great vacation. Da-da. And like, it was a total disaster. And my sister and I used to make jokes that they were just relocations, especially when the kids were little, because you pack up, it's like packing up the whole house, right? And going elsewhere. And then I'm like, okay, this was a relocation, not a vacation. But I got smarter as time went on. And I always say the key to life is low expectations, which my husband hates when I say that. He takes that as an insult, but I do think it is the key to life. So instead, I just went into, now like go into vacation. I'm like, whatever happens, happens. Like we might have a couple things like, oh, we might do this on this day, might do this on this day, kind of hear what people want to do. But I kind of also look at it like this is their vacation. Not kind of, it is. It's their vacation. And so whatever happens, happens. And I'm like, I end up feeling like, I don't know, I've removed the expectations from it. Like everyone's going to go and everyone's going to do what they're going to do. And everyone ends up usually having a really good time because I haven't put my own expectations on them.
So when my kids were younger, and actually I think I still have this mindset, like if you could wow them on when you arrive on vacation, everyone enters that space with expectations. So if we can get one really good thing into that moment, it relieves all the pressure. Like have that first thing you do. Now you can't control it all the time, but like if we rented an Airbnb and it's great, that kind of diminishes the oh wow, this is great. But I have a friend who always talks about, and this is not going to be a popular thought, but that how much fun it is to look forward to their kids coming, like to seeing their kids. And then you see them and it's life, right? Like it's got its ups and downs. Just like, so I hate to give up the excitement in advance because that might be the only fun. It might turn out that the expectations were the highest, but I do agree with you, and you and Dan usually agree, and me and Todd usually agree, but I agree with low expectations, like especially on a family vacation, because it's easy to blow it out of proportion. That like this is good, and I think that's true. Like even just on regular vacations, like the lower I am in my expectations, just in terms of like obvious reasons that I'm gonna, even if I have an okay time, it's going to be better than if I thought it was going to be like shooting the moon. But also like I think I don't go in with so much like nerves around it just being better than anything I've ever done, you know?
Yeah. But you know what? I wonder if, maybe it's a whole different Fridays with us, is like just expectations in life, right? Like how you go through your day to day. I'm guessing that you and I, our vacation mindsets are very analogous to how we approach our lives, is probably a pretty accurate statement, like,
Well,
I don't know.
I don't think I've always lived this way. Like nothing was more fun
Hey.
for me than looking forward to a vacation.
Yeah.
And I actually was a little sad to kind of realize that it was, especially like when I was the planner,
Yeah.
had so many components to it that took away any of the excitement. Like there were so many things to tick off the list that I started to realize I was getting, like I was a little less excited about it than I used to be. But
Yeah.
I think that's growing up in age and just experiencing enough highs and lows that you just go with it. You just kind
Yeah.
of, but I don't think I put that everywhere else in my life. At least I have to reflect on that. But
Yeah. Yeah.
so
Same.
my thing is that um, there's so much joy in taking a risk, which I don't do often. Like I love to go to restaurants that people tell me are good, and to see movies and plays that people tell me are good. I love taking risk out of it, but then I walk in with an expectation because someone said to me, "Oh, it was amazing." So, for example, we were visiting our daughter in New York one time, and she wanted to see Come Fly Away, and I hadn't even heard of the show. Is that yours? Wait, what does it say?
Movies, plays, La La Land, Come From Away. Are you kidding me? I feel like we're on the Newlywed Game. I'm like,
Yeah,
Sue's gonna say,
yeah, yeah.
"Are you kidding me?
I'm not kidding you. And have you seen Come Fly Away? Come
Come
Fly
From
Away? Did you
Away?
Come Fly Away? I think
No, Come From Away. The
I
one
even looked.
about 9/11.
Yeah, I even looked it up to make sure I was saying it right. No?
Come From Away.
Well, anyway, it comes up if you type "Come Fly Away."
Funny.
So we just went, and I hadn't even heard of it. And the whole time I was like, "This is the best show I've ever seen." Like, and we lived in New York and saw every show on Broadway for the 4 years we were there. And then I didn't know what to do, because when people would say, "Did you like it?" I didn't want to ruin it for them. I didn't want to set the bar so high by saying, of all the shows I've ever seen, I was transported by this one more than any other. Like everything about it was so brilliant. But I didn't want to now do what people did to me on other things. Like Hamilton, I walked into, and there was no way it was going to be for me
Yeah.
what it was for someone who saw it early on. There was just no way. The expectations were so high. But this one, now what's my responsibility to other people? I liked it. I would definitely go see it. Like that's probably the nice thing to do.
It is the nice thing to do. Now, I don't know who told me they loved it. So I went to see Come From Away, and everyone told me they loved it. And I went to see it. I'm like, meh.
Wow. Wow.
I
Okay.
just said to someone on my trip last week, it came up in a conversation, and a couple of ladies were saying how much they loved it. And they're like, Steph, you must have loved it. And I said, it's funny. I didn't. And I feel like I need to see it again, because I think I went in with these very high expectations. So it's so funny. So I had heard from
Well,
people,
I
oh my God,
apologize if
Steph,
it was
you're
me.
going to love it. What?
I apologize if it was me.
Yeah,
Because
you were in great company if it was you, is all I'll say.
yeah.
um
Anyway, so yeah, I mean, like if you started watching, sorry, I've been coughing for a week. If you started watching Ted Lasso when it first started, it was a delight. But now, if you start, you go into it hearing that, all these things that people are saying about it. And like sometimes it's just really lucky to get in
yeah,
on like a miracle before you knew it was a miracle.
yeah,
So I'm torn because I'm not such a risk taker. So I do tend to wait until someone says, "You've got to watch that." Like we're
yeah.
watching Madam Secretary. How old is that?
I don't even know. Oh, is that an oldie? I didn't even know that.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
It's old. And before
Well,
that, we watched Newsroom, also really old, but like loved it.
I didn't
Uh,
see. Yes, I've heard good things about that, but I may have heard it from you. The other one that people said to me, "Oh my God, Steffi, you're gonna love this." Like, if anybody I know is gonna love, was Miss Maisel. We came very late to that. I just thought it was meh, but
yeah,
I'm sure had I come early, like It is. Expectations are so funny. I mean, I think it's true. This is where I think it mirrors life. Like, I always think, like, with marriage, with kids, like, I always wonder if you took an experiment of identical twins marrying identical twins, or a relationship, identical twins and identical twins, right? So you've got the same DNA, but the variable were expectations. How different would those relationships look? Do you see what I'm saying? Like, I think it's, if you go into a marriage or relationship thinking it's going to be a fairy tale and Prince Charming and, all those things maybe we were raised with, I'm not sure. I think you're probably going to be disappointed if you go in thinking, okay, might have its ups and downs. Like, I think it's so interesting. I think it's one of those things where, like, is the variable your expectations?
Well, I don't want to take out expectations from the joyful part of living. Like,
Yeah.
there is some things and successful part of living. Like, we go at things needing to kind of like weigh the good and the bad and the pros and the cons, and there's something so joyful about anticipating something with like
Yeah.
real high expectations. So I think, like, for me, I don't want to take out all the emotion of that so that I can not be disappointed all the time, because
Right.
I think that it's a weird balance. But on the other hand, the occasional time of taking that risk and being so delighted by something you didn't anticipate. I mean, like going on a trip somewhere and just wandering and
Yeah.
finding. We were just in New York, and we were walking to the East River and put in, like, are there any parks here? And it was like a secret garden. You had to walk down 3 flights of stairs, and then you had to, go through this and that. And there was this big park, a dog park, benches, and then you could walk over and be on the river. And it was like, it was this, I don't even know, it's so beautiful. It was just, part of it was like lack of expectation. We
Yeah.
walked in, we're like,
Yeah.
whoa,
Yeah. It's like
who knew this?
discovery. It's
Yeah,
discovery,
yeah,
right? It's
yeah. So
funny. You and I are very similar with this. Like, we both love nature and hiking, and right, like, we're very awestruck by a lot of, just the beauty of the world, I would say. And so it is funny, like, those are the things that more take my breath away than, like, I can enjoy, I love theater. There's so many things that I love, but I find that when I use that expression, my breath was taken away. It's often in nature. It's often unexpected. It's right. So
yeah,
yeah.
I mean, this was a little bit ago, but I can't. It's like it's the emotion has never been matched. When we drove up to Yosemite and we pulled over at one of the outlook places, like just the little area to stop and look,
Yeah.
and I really started to cry. Like,
Yeah.
it felt spiritual, and like,
Mhm.
and even that, by the end of the trip, I was having a hard time getting back. Like, it becomes normalized so quickly. But
Yeah.
that first moment of majestic beauty, like in
Yeah.
nature, it is really, I don't know, it's such a miracle. Such a
Yeah.
miracle.
It's funny. We were in Colorado earlier, or late in the summer in August, and we're driving up into Rocky Mountain, and all of a sudden Todd's like, he's just staring out the window. He's like, wait a minute. I think I just saw a moose. So my brother throws the car in reverse, and there's no, usually there's a moose because there's other people stopped on the side, but there was nobody stopped, right? Throws the car in reverse, and it is like, oh my God, 20 feet from us. I mean, it was crazy to be that close. We had seen a
Yeah.
moose the day before, but and her calf, and we were pretty far away, and it was still beautiful. This was like, I'm like, is this real? Like, it's crazy.
That's like these are stories of, like, I mean, it's not such a big risk because we know we're going somewhere where there's
Yeah.
natural beauty, but the idea of exploring without a known, like, you
Yeah.
don't, every 5 minutes isn't planned in your life, and you just,
Totally.
yeah, but it's a risk also because it could suck. So
Yes.
I'm not like the most, like, I read books that people tell me to read, I think that's a sign of how I live life, just tell me that that restaurant was great and I'm there. But, like,
Yeah.
I might really not like it. Do I want to waste my time and money there otherwise? But sometimes, like, taking that risk is so, and what's the barrier to the risk? Like, what do you lose if you go somewhere you've never been before and it's just okay? It's just,
Yeah. Well, what's funny? It's reminding me of the conversation like I have with the kids where, they're not sure, should I take that job? should I go to that club or organization? And I always say, like, if every risk you take ends up good, that you're glad you took it, then I'm like, okay, well, then you didn't take enough risk. Because there should be some where you're like, that wasn't so great. Because it shouldn't always end up that it's good, right? Like I always say, like, it's, the baseball metaphor, like you should get thrown out stealing. You know what I mean? You go for it. And
Yeah.
because sometimes you'll get it and it'll be a thrill, and other times, but that's how you know it's a thrill because of all the times you got picked off base, right?
But I would say there are personalities that find joy just in like being surprised, even if it's doesn't live up to like the best meal you've ever had, but just the exercise of like trying something brand new.
Yeah.
Like we have a mutual friend, they go to all these random hole in the wall restaurants, and they like the adventure of doing that, of like, and for sure all of them aren't good. I have a low tolerance for that. I have
right. I probably have a higher tolerance for it. That's funny. Yeah, I probably have a higher tolerance for it, but it is. Yeah, I think discovery is the word. Like the thrill of the discovery. I think
right, which takes, and that leaves off. That's a different kind of expectation, because then you have to buy into the idea of not knowing what the deliverable is, right? So you're excited to just be someone who does something like that, which maybe that's the best way, right? Like to be the person who likes to be the person who does that.
Right. It's like, no, that's so funny. Like I always say, wait, I have to think how I have this conversation with a friend, like like being the friend who like always says yes, or being like, I have a friend who she's the yes. She says yes to everything, like, which is so fun, right? Like she's game. She's always game. And I'm like, I want to be that for. I'm fairly spontaneous. She's crazy spontaneous.
It's funny because yesterday I interviewed a woman, and I guess it fits with her paradigm. It's called I can't remember the name of her book, but it's a template for living, and it starts with a circle. In that circle is who you are and what matters to you, and where do you see yourself in 10 years, kind of thing. Okay. And I was thinking that your friend who's so spontaneous, like at first I thought, well, that doesn't go with it, but it actually does, because her center would be spontaneity.
Yes.
Like that's how she lives. That's what she likes to do. And then she will make decisions based on what the center of that circle is. Anyway, something blueprint is what it's called. And we do have some copies of that book that we have for a raffle. So if you want to be entered, you can email editor@yourteenmag.com. I'll put it in the comments, editor@yourteenmag.com to enter book raffle. And what is the name of the book? The something blueprint. You know what it is, Steph?
No.
The parent blueprint? Okay, well, I'm going to finish that post after. So
I don't know it. I'm trying to
after we stop being live and babbling about this. Anyway, everyone have a great week. We're happy to see you, and we will see you next Friday.
Bye, guys.